Well, I had like created this video, and it's like my introduction to being on YouTube. And I'm like, wow, low top. Okay, that was probably inappropriate. I will say to you guys, I love makeup. I'm a makeup buff. I'm not an MUA by any stretch. So you guys will see me on here doing makeup looks and enjoying makeup and critiquing it on occasion when I'm talking about my astrology. I love this particular look at the topper. So if you're into like makeup and astrology, and you want to hear my astrology while I talk about my makeup, this is a perfect, channel for you. You're gonna enjoy it because I'm gonna talk about the latest palettes that come out at the same time. I will talk about you and your astrological, your zodiacal signs, as well as your moons, and I will talk about compatibility. Today, this particular this particular video, I want to focus on understanding the natal chart, the primary things and components that you must understand in order to read a natal chart. I'm going to recommend a book. It's actually on sale right now on Amazon Prime, and I tell a lot of my clients to get this book. It's everything you need to know about astrology, and I feel like it's a great beginner book for people who. It's Joanne Martine Woolfolk, and it's everything, the only astrology book you'll ever need. And it's not if you plan on being an astrologer, but for people who are learning about the natal chart, it's very, very, very good. It even tells you things about the different shapes and what that means. That's kind of what I enjoyed the most. I believe that was my favorite part of the book, where I started to see how it explained something that I had not really looked into as an astrologer, which was the different shapes of charts and what they might represent about a person. If most of their planets are clustered in a certain way, you'll notice some people's charts are like that. Everybody's charts are different. No chart is bad or better than another person's. Although we do tend to judge if there's a lot of hard aspects, it seems like that might be a more difficult chart. If you don't have a lot of hard aspects in this karmic life, you're blessed, but you will, experience your own difficulties. Everybody goes through their own troubles. I will tell you that aspects are the final thing you need to understand in a chart. So let's put those to the side for now and try to be a little organized about this conversation from your Gemini moon astrologer. I tend to be going everywhere, and I also have an ascendant Gemini, so I'm rather all over the place. I will explain to you something very easily that, for example, one of my charts right here, it's kind of funny. This one, it did in Placidius because, I'm a Western astrologer, so I kind of go back and forth, I do wish to do the whole sign because I believe your ascendant is the most important part of your chart. It says the most about you, it defines who you are, it defines your houses, and it's going to tell you your chart ruler, unless you have a planet conjuncting your ascendant. So I feel that is important, understanding what each house represents and the duality of the houses, okay? We all know that each house, it represents a zodiacal sign, and everybody knows their sign, and they kind of might know what their house is if you're a little more versed. If you're not, it's very clear and obvious. The archetype of the typical chart starts with Aries, wraps around in counterclockwise from the 9 o'clock position. That would be like your 12 o'clock, where your ascendant is, and your ascendant and descendant, consider it like the horizon and what was over the horizon when you were born. Your astrological chart is a snapshot of the sky the moment you were born. So it's very important to know your time. If you don't know your time, I can help with that. You can leave me a comment down below, and I do help people find their time, but I will not be able to help you with your degrees. Your degrees will always be off, and there's a chance that some of your planets might not be in the right house, depending on what system you use. So it does change. If you change your system, sometimes your planets will change, where they're located. So that's very relevant. So you would be able to read both to see what placement is more like yourself. Not a big deal. Not a big deal, like I said. Your aspects don't change no matter where they are in the chart. Those aspects will still be there. They just, you won't know which zodiacal sign they're supposed to be in. So it's important to know your time. I always tell my clients, time is everything. So as I was saying, snapshot of the sky, horizon. You got your MC, which is where you're reaching for, where you want to be and what you want to achieve. Different ascendants have different things they want to achieve. Like a Libra is looking to achieve Cancer as their MC, and that would be security and having an emotional connection that's strong and having security. Sagittarius is MC. It would happen to be Virgo, so they're looking for perfection. They have to be continually vigilant about the work they do in their life and keep up habitual tasks. And they have psychic energy because their 12th house is Scorpio. So if you have an ascendant and your 12th house is a water sign, you have, some psychic synchronicities and vibrations that you might experience. Anyways, I tend to lead astray. I apologize, but it's information, You also have your IC, which is your 4th house, and for this particular archetype here that we're doing, it happens to be somebody who has a Scorpio ascendant and Placidius, but if we were to say it's whole sign, we'll just for the sake of argument today do a whole sign and say it's a Sagittarius ascendant. So they'd have a Pisces IC, and your IC is super important. That is your 4th house. That is your hearth, your home, your family, your moon, exactly what everything that's dear and close and near to you. And like if it was Scorpio, it would be an Aquarius 4th house, so they kind of like the weird, They're attracted to weirdness, and everybody who knows a Scorpio ascendant will probably agree that, they're comfortable being weird, and they gravitate towards weirdness. Just a little different, the different people, I'm telling you both since I can see both here. Having a Gemini in your 7th house of partnership and friends and open enemies does not necessarily mean you're going to marry or be attracted to a Gemini. However, it does mean when you see it in the house format and you're doing an ascendant reading, that's the way that they're going to communicate and learn their skills of getting along with friends and what have you. And for Sagittarius archetype in this particular situation, Gemini, will teach them there's different truths out there to have. It's very interesting because there's all kinds of truths, and Sagittarius is kind of stuck on their truth, and they'll get to learn that people are different. There's all different walks of life. It's a super important lesson that they'll learn by having Gemini as their 7th house. They may meet a Gemini they love, who knows? We don't know what their sun and moon or Venus and Mars are. We're just talking based on ascendant. And then you would go to the 9th house. That's what I talk about next, would be Leo. So they need to remember to have fun and have that light, that shining light, because they have risen from the dark and the depths of hell. I mean, having a Scorpio ascendant is in their 12th house. About a Sagittarius ascendant tells me that they've like a phoenix, they rose from the dark, and they're an archer, so they're visionaries, I believe that about Sagittarius sons as well. They're visionary people. If you look at like the couple like Jay-Z and Beyonce, you have two people who you normally not put together. However, she's got I believe it's Stellium and Libra, but she has Virgo, and he is Sagittarius. He's very visionary. She's very perfectionist, she's very socially capable. Their fame is, and they're a power couple in that regard. He doesn't, fail to stop and have fun, and he keeps his routine up. And keeping up steady routine and steady habits as a Sagittarius, you'll reach your MC of Virgo. But that they like perfection, politeness, and correctness, and that's kind of more or less the archetype for a Sagittarius ascendant, to explain to you how the ascendant reading works and why the houses are so relevant. So learning what those houses mean and the duplicity behind them is super relevant. Knowing the zodiacal signs and how they affect any of the planets that we're going to place, in them is very important. And, you're going to see, like, for example, if you have a Saturn in the 1st house of Sagittarius, we're going to talk about what it's like to have a Saturn in the 1st house. And then we're going to discuss what it means to have Saturn in Sagittarius. And then we're going to look at your aspects. That's how I usually do my readings. I'll go from one planet to the next and talk about each one. So it's very important you know what the different aspects are that are hard aspects. A 90-degree angle of any sort, this chart, you can tell there's a few. A 90-degree angle or an opposition is going to be a hard aspect for you. Hard aspects are things that need work, okay, or that are going to cause a reaction. They're going to cause you to learn a lesson, particularly, or make a positive change. You're going to have a reaction because of these squares. They're going to cause that in your life. They're going to cause disruption so that you do, react to them and you do something to either fix them or you live with them and just it's kind of hard and you're always struggling with that square. Some of them are very hard to get out of. And I know people who've worked on them and I've worked with clients on squares. And I'll be completely honest with you. Sometimes you slip back into some of the, problems that you have in the square because your natal chart has that, in it. You will always have that, square. So you're just going to kind of learn to live with it and make the best out of squares is the way that I try to explain it, or kind of take the scare out of the square. But oppositions is about balance. So, you really want to find balance. A lot of times when I see a sun and moon that are in opposition, I know that person's, for example, if your sun is in Pisces and your moon is in Virgo, I would say it makes you more grounded, but you are conflicted, in a way, because in your mind, it would be worse to have a moon in Pisces and a sun in Virgo, because then all your emotions you would not know how to articulate them, and you would kind of you'd question all of them. And I think it happens either way with the Virgo and Pisces opposition with sun and moon. But you're where your sun, and you're going to look where your sun is. That's one of the most, what's very important. You're going to look where your moon is. You're going to look where your Venus is to see more or less how you love. If you see it in a position, it's like, for example, if you've seen it in Virgo, Virgo is a nice sign, but, Virgo's love or might not be as, they are very open, okay? Virgos are open and they're see, this book does really actually help you. The way that it helps me, I'm going to be honest with you, is with this particular part, with the aspects, the placements, because to me, the placements are important, and I can kind of visualize what it would be like to have a Venus in Virgo. They're going to love in the way that they are in their life, they're very practical. So their love is going to be practical love, and that's what it says right here, which is kind of funny. It's, Venus and Virgo, you tend to be cautious in falling in love, and sometimes you avoid involvement by taking small defects in a person, blowing them up out of proportion, and finding character flaws. You hold yourself a tight rein because you're fear that your feelings will be, exploited by someone unworthy. What you want is a love relationship with someone who will regard you as special. Curiously, however, when you do give your heart away, it's often to the wrong person who will appreciate your fine qualities. For some reason, this position of Venus tends to promote scandal. Venus Virgos have many virtues. You are refined and intelligent, loyal and sympathetic. And then you have some of the Venuses, you have an incredible passion. Some, are very compassionate and loving, and some are very intuitive. So finding out your Venus is important. Finding out your Mars would also be how you find out your way of passion. If you have a Mars in a sign that, for example, let's see, Scorpio, or you may be possessive, and that would kind of be a little scary, in my opinion. Especially if you had a Pluto opposition with Venus, and then your Mars was in Scorpio as well. It would be like But you get people like that. That's kind of a red flag. I'm going to do a red flag video probably next. But when you're looking for these aspects, you can Google them. If you have trouble, or the placements, you can Google them. Find out what the placements mean, and then slowly, you can either get with an astrologer, or you can find on astro.com, they have a click where you can actually click on the aspects, and they can define them for you and help you. A lot of people don't know that. There is an astro click type of thing where you can go in there and look what it means, and it's I use it as kind of like a PowerPoint for discussion. Sometimes you just go in there and click. But it really does help a lot of people who are beginning with astrology to kind of memorize and understand what the hard aspects mean. When you see them, like a Jupiter opposite Saturn, that one right there, you kind of want to classify what a negative reaction would be, and you take the archetypes of those signs as well. It would help, it's taking a Taurus in opposition with the Capricorn, how would, or a Libra rather, in an opposition with the Capricorn. I take the extrovert of the sign, not the introvert person of the sign. And you have a lot of planets that have dual rulerships, like Venus has, Libra and Venus. So you have to memorize those. Those components are important, guys. The components of what what each, planet, who they rule, which zodiacal sign they rule, very relevant. Which house the zodiacal sign rules, very important. It's just a lot of components in memorization, and I feel that it's almost like Greek to some people, but when you learn the components, the first time you actually learn all the components and the glyphs, and you turn around and look at a chart, I was like 19, I'll never forget. It's almost like the sky opens up, and you're seeing something, like you're seeing things you never thought, you never imagined, and you can know who this person is, and it's a beautiful feeling to be able to help somebody find who they are and to help them make adjustments and help them work their squares. And that's what I do. I love to be there for you through the whole process. I have a chart that's rather difficult myself, so I've gone through the work. It's kind of why I chose to be an astrologer, because I had been working a lot of squares, and I got to the point where I thought, man, I think I have every one. After I do this, I can actually help people work through them. Not I have everyone, but I'm just saying, at that point I really knew that it was probably a very good thing to help people. The sun on square of Pluto was in this chart. I see, this is a difficult chart right here, but not as bad as mine, I only shown it to a few people. The natal chart is very sacred, you guys, and I love to tell people that I appreciate them allowing me into their sacred natal chart to help them, because it's sacred. In other places they do like Vedic astrology, you can do spells and stuff like that. Verdict's a little different. I'm a Western astrologer. I love to answer all your questions. I'd love to help you understand your ascendant sign. That's my specialty, is the houses and the ascendants. And I also specialize in composites. I love composites. I do them on Valentine's Day. I was drawing them and nailing them out in 8x10s. So people can hang them in their room. When I drew them, like colorful, real pretty, and it's just something that I like to do to help couples better understand their trajected, their relationship where it's trajected to. And I've seen some beautiful composites. I've seen some tough composites, and I've seen composites that are like me and my husband's, but we still work through it. You have a Pisces with a Leo. But as I was saying, and I'm not as shy to tell you about myself. I'm open about that. Some astrologers aren't. I'm open about everything, and I'm just an open book. As far as astrology, it's my passion. I will talk about it all day with you. And I read for people, and I help them, what I am amateur on, I do find the answer to, and I do have the people to call and talk to about it. So it's kind of like, getting a chart read with me is a very thorough experience. I feel like it's a bargain for what it is, the price I charge. I really try not to break anybody's balls, because the way that I think about it is, this is knowledge, and I want you to have it. And it's truly an important piece of knowledge to understand yourself. It's a spiritual awakening of its own to me, to understand astrology. But I don't put myself in the class of esoterics, because I feel like it's a science to me in psychology. I majored in psychology. I understand people's psychology, and I like to help them with it. So you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope this clarifies a few things for you. And if you have questions, please leave them below, or you can email me and find my social medias, or just go and leave a comment. You guys have a wonderful day, and it was a pleasure meeting you, and I hope to see you again on here, and maybe it'll be a little less awkward next time. Take care, guys.